All right. So I'm gonna start off by saying that their first point was that prostitution is a victimless crime. Alan Schwartz, a PhD in private practice for 30 years and a licensed clinical social worker in the US, he says that the other end of the spectrum of prostitution are the streetwalkers. Most of them are addicted to drugs, and many were forced into prostitution against their will. Sex trafficking is an international, multi-billion-dollar business involving criminals who kidnap and enslave girls. Girls as young as 10 years of age are snatched from their countries and sold into prostitution far away from their native homes. By legalizing prostitution, it could possibly make these horrific events easier for them. Now that they have a legal area to hold their prostitutes, they don't have to hide that. They just have to hide the fact how they're getting the prostitutes there. The women aren't well protected. Megan says most of the prostitutes enjoy the prostitution and want it to be legalized to keep them safe. But there aren't much precautions to keep them safe. She made a claim that there's, since in areas where prostitution is legalized, there's been a drastic decrease in the harm and abuse towards them. But she never gave it a percentage or a numerical statistic on how much of a drop there was. Melissa Farley, a PhD, has been practicing clinical psychology for 45 years and is part of the American Psychology Association. In an article on the Catholic Education Resource Center, she goes to say that sexual violence and physical assault are the norm for women in legal prostitution. In one Dutch study, 60% of women in legal prostitution were physically assaulted. 70% were threatened with physical assault. 40% experienced sexual violence, and 40% have been coerced into legal prostitution. These are still huge, drastic numbers. So even though the harm against them has been reduced, it doesn't seem like it's been a substantial amount because the majority of the women recorded are still being assaulted. She also goes to say that it gives them a voice, that they can go to the police, and if they're ever assaulted by anyone, they can just put that out. Pimps are notorious for being harsh, abusive, and formidable. They aren't going to suddenly become nice to their prostitutes just because it's now legal. Pimps are all about the money. Who's going to protect the women? So, Melissa Farley had an occurrence where she said a colleague was telling the truth about her experience on prostitution on a TV talk show. During a break in the film, she was approached by a second woman who had been escorted in front of the cameras by her legal Nevada pimp. Whispering, the frightened woman begged for help, saying the pimp had coerced her to say on camera how much fun prostitution it was. So women do now have the legal voice to say something, but a lot of times they're struck by fear, and like Luke has said, a lot of times they're kind of forced into prostitution, so that's the only job they really have. So them ratting out their pimps or their guests, their Johns, now jeopardizes their job and jeopardizes their safety, which silences them. So the pimps may not directly be silencing them, but the risk of their job would be. They can call the police, but it would put them out of a job, and pimps, that ruins their reputation. So now they are threatened by the prostitute and could now have someone go out and harm the prostitute. So what processes and legalities are being taken to prevent these from happening? They said that by legalizing prostitution, career options are opened up. Even though job opportunities are opened up, where are these brothels going to be placed? Melissa Farley says, the Prostitution Law Review Committee in 2008 reported what happened after prostitution was decriminalized in New Zealand. 7 years after New Zealand law was passed, battles are still being waged about whose neighborhood prostitution will be zoned into. No one wants prostitution next door. Prostitution is zoned into neighborhoods of people who cannot afford the legal fees to prevent it. So although it creates the jobs for these women, it also destroys neighborhoods and communities. How many people really want their kids growing up to see women selling their bodies for sex? Do people really want their sons and daughters growing up with prostitution as a possible career, and that's what they're surrounded by? Emma says that when John is being aggressive with the prostitute, that they get kicked out. When they get kicked out, are they refunded with their full services? Are they going to be repaid for the services they are lacked of? This also arises that some of these women, it's got a lot of he said, she said. Did he really assault her, or is she just saying that to end the session short and get her money's worth? There's a lot of this is behind closed doors. So what legalities and what regulations are being put in place to protect not only the Johns, but also the females? Thank you.